Hello, curious minds. Lauren here, your dedicated guide through the endlessly fascinating tapestry of real-life stories. Today we're diving deep into the often unseen, bewildering, and sometimes hilariously absurd world of tech support and customer service. Prepare to unravel tales where logic takes a vacation, policies get bent, and the human element, for better or worse, shines through in the most unexpected ways. Get ready to discover the intricate dance between those seeking help and those trying to provide it against all odds. Let's immerse ourselves and explore them together. Our first three laws today form a captivating trilogy, all from the perspective of a seasoned, yet somewhat disillusioned, tech support specialist. Our storyteller, Redditor u/scribeawoken, takes us behind the curtain of a major American ISP call center, where they navigated a labyrinth of frustrating policies and truly bizarre technical dilemmas. These are the stories that prove, even in the most straightforward of situations, it's always DNS, even if it absolutely shouldn't be. Our storyteller recounts their time at a major American ISP call center, a job they eventually quit back in August, fed up with how much policies felt designed to avoid sending out a technician rather than actually finding solutions. Unlike many colleagues, our storyteller had a genuine technical background and a knack for identifying deeper issues that troubleshooting scripts often missed, the kind of problems most people would just give up on. This particular incident occurred about a month after their training, during a second shift workday. Around 4 p.m., a supervisor from the cable TV department transferred an escalated call. The customer was stark raving mad, furious about an internet issue on his Mac that a technician had summarily dismissed as a third-party router problem, and then simply left. Our storyteller, recognizing the depth of the customer's frustration, immediately worked to de-escalate, assuring him of a more in-depth investigation to truly identify if the issue was his router or something else entirely. Luckily, the caller had already bypassed his router, connecting his Mac directly to the cable modem, which simplified troubleshooting. Basic steps like power cycling the modem and rebooting the desktop yielded no results, and Safari would simply freeze when trying to access any web page. Our storyteller then asked the customer to open the terminal and ping 8.8.88, Google's public DNS server, which, surprisingly, went through just fine. But when the customer tried pinging google.com, nothing. The immediate red flag for any tech professional. If you can ping an IP address but not a domain name, the problem almost certainly lies with the domain name system, or DNS. Next, our storyteller had the customer check his network settings, revealing a truly baffling configuration. The DNS was set to manual, with a single IP address listed, 127.0.0.1. Somehow, for some ungodly reason, this man's computer was configured to use its own loopback interface as its sole DNS server. Our storyteller expressed bewilderment, stating, "I do not know how this happened. I'm not sure if I want to know how this happened, but it happened." From there, the solution was straightforward. Advise him to use a public DNS, like Google DNS or Cloudflare DNS, or set it to automatically configure via DHCP. And he was back online in no time. The humorous kicker? The customer assumed our storyteller was a supervisor the entire time. It wasn't until the very end of the call that our storyteller revealed they were only a month out of training. What a fascinating dive into the often hidden complexities of tech support, where even the most seasoned professionals can be stumped by unexpected configurations. This law truly highlights the dedication it takes to peel back layers of assumed problems to find the true underlying cause. It's a testament to the idea that even if you think you know the issue, sometimes it's something entirely unforeseen. If this story of digital detective work captivated you, please take a moment to give this video a like. Your support helps more curious minds discover our collection of found laws. And tell me, have you ever encountered a problem that seemed impossible to solve, only to find the solution was something completely bizarre and unexpected? Share your baffling breakthroughs in the comments below. Now let's continue with our intrepid tech support specialist, as they share another law that delves into the murky waters where corporate policy collides with legal grey areas. Sometimes, illegal problems require illegal solutions. This next tale, also from scribeawoken, takes place sometime between the first and third stories they shared about their time at that particular job. Our storyteller seemed to be a magnet for all of the weird edge case issues during their time working in the rectum of the American telecom industry. While intellectually stimulating for them, management hated it because they were pressured to enforce standardized processes, while our storyteller kept getting the calls those standardized processes don't account for. This is one of those calls. So this call occurred around June or July of 2022. It was from a customer whose Wi-Fi inexplicably stopped working on his old 2-in-1 modem and re-mo unit, right after migrating from a legacy plan to an up-to-date package. Our storyteller pulled up his modem, saw it was only provisioned to act as a modem, and was locked into bridge mode. This was a relatively common call with a straightforward cause. Even with a 2-in-1 unit, customers had to pay the router rental fee for the routing functions to be enabled. Otherwise, it would be locked into bridge mode, and sometimes the router rental fee would fall off during migrations. Our storyteller began explaining this to the customer, who was fairly understanding about occasional hiccups with the migration process, but then posed a crucial question. But why is this happening if I have my own modem? Turns out the modem he was using was one he purchased himself, a retail model from Best Buy bought some 10 years prior. Somehow it had been incorrectly flagged as an ISP-provided modem. This was really fucking bad because the FCC had recently banned ISPs from charging equipment rental fees for customer-owned equipment, and 2 other big players had just been fined for this exact issue. Effectively, the company had illegally locked the router part of the customer's own 2-in-1 modem site bitch combo behind a rental fee. Thankfully, the customer was fairly understanding when our storyteller explained the error, likely because the ISP used to rent out the same model. Our storyteller put him on hold to reach out to someone on the L2 support team. L2 confirmed it was a known issue. During a billing system migration, any third-party modems from upstate New York were incorrectly flagged as a specific ISP-provided model. The truly frustrating part? This cannot be corrected. The only solution was for him to purchase a new modem. Our storyteller passed this information along, also noting that the old modem would need replacement anyway to support the upgraded download speed. Again, the customer was very understanding, but informed them it would be a few days before he could purchase a new modem, and asked if there was any way to get his modem back into router mode temporarily. Our storyteller informed him that the only way to do that would be to apply the router rental fee, which they would have preferred not to do, as it was both against policy and illegal. At this point, the customer clearly just wanted Wi-Fi again, so he insisted on having the fee applied for a few days. Our storyteller gave in, applied the fee, and informed him of the prorated charge, about 16 or 17 cents per day, reiterating the need to replace the modem and call back to remove the fee. Our storyteller pondered if they did the right thing, but considering it was a temporary, customer-requested stopgap, they deemed it acceptable for that one instant. What a deep dive into the ethical quandaries and systemic flaws that can plague even major service providers. This lore is a compelling example of how individuals on the front lines often navigate a delicate balance between policy, legality, and simply trying to help a person in need. It makes you wonder how many times such solutions are found in the grey areas. If this tale of corporate mishaps and personal decisions resonated with you, please consider hitting that subscribe button to join our growing community of found laws enthusiasts. And tell us, have you ever found yourself in a situation where the official solution was simply impractical, leading you to find a creative, albeit unconventional, workaround? Share your clever fixes in the comments below. And now, for the final installment of Scribeawoken's Tech Support Chronicles, a law that combines ignored policy, a lack of due diligence, and a truly unhinged idiom. This story, from June 2023, finds our storyteller working first shift. The call came in fairly late in their shift, after 3 p.m., as second shift folks were filtering in. This was relevant because it was a fairly typical call, someone who had been having issues with slow internet service and had called multiple times. It turned out our storyteller was the 7th or 8th person he'd spoken to, and basically all of them had blown him off because he was using his own router. Our storyteller went through their usual troubleshooting, suspecting that the previous reps had missed something, because part of their script was bypassing third-party routers to verify if the issue was with the ISP's equipment or the customer's. This suggested the last few people were ignoring procedure to get customers off the phone quickly. Everything looked fine in their monitoring tools, so our storyteller mentioned one more test that would require a bit of finagling due to his own router. The customer, however, seemed to only hear "own router" and immediately launched into a rant, demanding a technician and accusing our storyteller of trying to upsell him again, like the last 6 or 7 people did. During his tirade, he mentioned he couldn't use ISP-rented routers due to security features required for his remote work as a defense contractor. He also brought up that he used to work call center tech support 15 years ago and knows all the tricks, and said the last 2 people told him his speeds were throttled due to exceeding his data cap, demanding it be removed. The critical detail here? The ISP our storyteller worked for does not have data caps for home internet service. Legally, they weren't even allowed to at the time he first started calling, due to an agreement from a large merger approval 7 years prior. Our storyteller tried to explain this, but the customer's verbatim response was chilling. Yeah, and Epstein killed. Our storyteller just sat there in shocked silence for a good minute, biting their tongue. Eventually they regained composure and somehow got him to actually listen, explaining one more troubleshooting step. Disconnect his router and hook up a device with an Ethernet port, laptop, desktop, game console, directly to his modem, and run a speed test. If speeds were still slow, a repair technician would be dispatched. If speeds were correct, his router was the problem. However, the only device he owned with an Ethernet port was his work laptop, which he could not connect directly to his modem due to his employer's security requirements. His personal laptop was a MacBook, and his only other networking device was his phone. Our storyteller recommended getting an Ethernet to USB adapter or a new personal laptop, and he said he was looking for an excuse to get a new personal laptop anyway and would call back if things were still slow. As a postscript, our storyteller learned a colleague overheard the call and was one of the previous reps who blew him off. Our storyteller later checked the account and found the customer hadn't called back and still had the same modem, suggesting either he gave up or his router truly was the problem. What an absolutely wild journey through the depths of customer service. This lore encapsulates the frustration of dealing with misinformed or conspiratorial customers, the pressure to adhere to policies, and the moments of pure disbelief that can leave you speechless. These 3 stories together paint a vivid picture of the unique challenges faced by tech support heroes. If this trilogy of tales captivated you, please hit that like button. Your support helps more curious minds discover our collection of found lores. And tell me, what's the most unusual or illogical belief you've ever encountered from someone in a professional setting? Share your head-scratching stories in the comments below. Now, let's shift gears from the world of internet woes to the equally perplexing realm of mobile phone support, as our next lore brings us a truly memorable character. Fix my phone. No, you can't touch it. This lore comes from Redditor u/ShibaSensei25, recounting experiences from their first 2 years working at a phone company. Our storyteller admits to being relatively new to Samsung and Android operating systems at the time, having grown up with iPhones, but the customer in this story, known as PB, after a certain 2010s meme, was certainly not tech-savvy. Our storyteller's first interaction with PB went a little something like this. Hello, welcome. How can I assist you today? PB's direct demand. My banking app isn't working and I need you to fix it. Eager to help, our newbie storyteller opened his phone and immediately saw the issue. He was logged out of the app. Okay, sir, you're just logged out of the app. You just need to put in your information, our storyteller explained. PB's baffling reply. Okay, what's my information? Our storyteller stared, confused. Your login for the app? PB insisted. Yeah, what is it? How would I know, sir? It's your information, our storyteller patiently explained. PB then asked, well, don't you save all the information on phones? No? That's pretty illegal. If you don't know what your app's login info is, then you're going to want to call the bank the app is through, and they can help you. PB followed up. Can you call them for me, since this is a phone issue? No. Sir, we have nothing to do with the app or the bank, and that's sensitive information, was the resolute reply. After this refusal, PB became pissy and stormed out. Unfortunately, that wasn't the last of PB. A few weeks later, he returned, this time plagued by messages and ads claiming he had a virus on his phone. Our storyteller, still somewhat new to this particular scam, made the cardinal rule mistake of opening Google Chrome without asking first and was instantly greeted by half a dozen tabs of certain sites confirming the source of the spam. Wanting to wash their hand with fire after seeing that, our storyteller simply turned off his notifications for Google and told him it was fixed. The proper solution involves clearing browser cache and history to stop spam. Over the next year and a half, PB came in every month or so with the same problem, and every time either our storyteller or a coworker had to help him and show him how to fix his phone. By now, our storyteller knew the proper method and even showed PB how to do it himself, but no dice. Around mid-year 2, PB returned again, and a coworker got stuck with him. His issue was simple. Ads kept popping up because of apps he unknowingly downloaded from other app ads, a very common practice with free games. The coworker fixed it by deleting the offending apps. This sent PB into a yelling fit, screaming at the coworker because how dare he touch things on his phone? The coworker, a young man who gave no fucks, argued back, stating he had been asked to fix the phone. PB eventually left in a huff. Our storyteller's final interaction with PB was a few weeks later with the same issue. Recalling the previous incident, our storyteller informed PB they'd have to delete what was causing the spam, which meant the apps. PB: What? No, you aren't deleting anything. Just fix the phone. Our storyteller: I can't, because you need to delete what's causing it. You need to delete these apps to stop the spam. PB: Just fix it. Our storyteller, with an internal shrug, simply pretended to mess with it and declared, done. PB then took his phone and left, never to be seen again as long as our storyteller worked there. What an utterly frustrating yet ultimately comical lore about the unique challenges of tech support when faced with a truly uncooperative customer. This story highlights the bizarre demands that can arise when a lack of understanding meets an abundance of entitlement. And now for our final lore of the day, a delightful trip back to the 90s, the dial-up era when dinosaurs 486s still roamed the earth, from Redditor U/Universal Binary. All my pictures have turned into horses. Our storyteller was recently promoted out of support into a junior sysadmin role at a local ISP, but they were still the go-to person for problem calls, which they actually enjoyed. One fine morning, sunlight streaming in the window of their office, a support person, SP, walked in, saying, "I've got a problem call on hold. Can you help?" That was typical, but SP's demeanor was odd. His tone was pleading, and he looked genuinely afraid our storyteller might say no. "What's going on?" our storyteller asked. "She says all her pictures have been turned into horses." A pause. Our storyteller's brain struggled with that sentence. What? "Yeah, she says all her pictures are now horses." "What pictures?" "I don't know. She's frantic, mad, and clueless. She can't even explain. Please help?" "Okay, sure." SP departed at a much higher velocity than usual for someone about to return to more support calls. Our storyteller picked up the call. The customer, whom they'd call HL, was indeed frantic, mad, and not particularly computer literate. "Hi, this is Universal Binary. How can I help?" "I've been hacked. Your system is terrible. How could you let someone turn all my pictures into horses?" After much discussion, our storyteller determined the photos were on her website. Like most ISPs at the time, theirs offered customers a few MBs of disk space, which was plenty for a website back then. HL had somehow managed to figure out how to put up a website, and our storyteller pulled it up. It looked like a run-of-the-mill amateur website, and indeed all photos on the site were of horses, incongruous horses. Instead of whatever was supposed to be there, navigation icons, a map, etc., everything was now a horse, or more. Our storyteller had to mute themselves when it came up on screen, or the customer would have heard their laughter. Nothing on the site had anything to do with horses, yet there it was, full of horses. Our storyteller looked into it more. Nothing had been recently modified. It turned out she didn't have any pictures in her public HTML directory at all. Every image was coming from a different server by using its URL in her IMG src equals tags. In other words, she was basically stealing photos and bandwidth from someone else. Our storyteller suspected that person found out and replaced all their images with horses, but perhaps they just took a random turn for the equine. In any case, despite attempts, it was impossible to get Horse Lady to understand that she had not been hacked, or how IMG tags work, or even that she was mooching off someone else and what is behind a given URL that she doesn't control might change at any time. Finally, our storyteller said, "Okay, let me ask a company owner to look into it and make sure you weren't hacked. Okay?" She sounded relieved. Finally! Now it was our storyteller's turn to go to an office. They went to their boss's office, who happened to be one of the owners of the company, stood in his doorway with that same pleading tone and said, "I have a mad customer on the line and she is sure she has been hacked. I don't think she has, but the only thing that will make her happy is knowing you've double-checked." Our storyteller explained the saga, watching him try and fail to contain the smile that grew into a chuckle. "Who is this customer?" "HL." Now it wasn't a chuckle, it was outright laughter. Without turning to look at his screen or touch his keyboard, he said, "Tell her I've checked and her account is secure." "Okay, thanks." Our storyteller backed out, told this to HL, and it somehow pacified her a bit, and they ended the call. Our storyteller's boss's office was right next to theirs, so occasionally they could hear each other's conversations. Our storyteller heard several conversations from his office that day that went like this. "Universal Binary came to me today to ask if a customer account had been hacked. Apparently all her photos changed to horses." "What? Horses? Had it been hacked? Of course not. Then what happened?" "The customer was HL." "Ah!" Apparently our storyteller was one of the few who had never had a run-in with HL before, but they still remember it, nearly 3 decades later. If these stories brought a moment of joy, a spark of curiosity, a knowing nod of recognition, or even a sense of shared exasperation to your day, a gentle like on this video would be greatly appreciated. Your support helps more curious minds discover our collection of real-life narratives. To become a cherished part of our growing family of found laws enthusiasts, simply press that subscribe button and join us on our continuous quest to find and share the most captivating true tales. I'm always eager to hear your thoughts and experiences. What kind of laws do you find most captivating? Or perhaps you have a tech support or customer service story of your own that truly tested your patience or brought an unexpected moment of clarity. Share your insights and your own unforgettable encounters in the comments below. I eagerly await our next story time.